Hey guys, it's Barry from Barry's Aquarium, and for today's video I thought that I'd just show you guys how I feed my fish. I'll take you guys around and show you all my tanks, what I feed them, how often I feed them, that sort of thing. So it's going to be really fun, so stick around all the way to the end and let's get started. One more thing before we start, I have a huge announcement to make. We made it to 50 subscribers. Yeah, you heard right, the big 50. So I just want to thank everyone who subscribed. Really grateful for you guys, and if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe right now. But anyways, let's get to the video. Alright, so here are the three main foods that I feed all my tanks. Probably the one that I use most often, actually it is the one that I use most often, are these Aqueon Tropical Flakes. Probably use it about 90% of the time. I feed this to my fish probably every other day or so. And the next food that I feed them are these Pleco wafers. They're Tetra brand, just good algae wafer that gets to the bottom for the bottom feeders like these snails and shrimp. But just overall good food. Then the final food that I usually feed are these frozen bloodworms. It's a pretty good food. It's a good source of protein. You don't want to feed frozen bloodworms too much because it's so much protein, it'll clog up the fish's digestive tract and that might kill them. So I like to feed these not as often as the algae wafers and tropical flakes, but let's go ahead and start feeding the fish. So the first tank that we're going to be feeding is this 5-gallon nano tank. I only have 2 fish in it at the moment. If you haven't seen my last video on it, I'll leave a card in the upper right hand corner just discussing about this tank. And I also have some shrimp. There's a pregnant one underneath that piece of wood, and then just some good old snails in the bottom. So I like to feed the Aqueon flakes just a small pinch for the Ember Tetras. Let's get some out, getting kind of low. And then I just kind of crush them up a little bit. And now I'll feed the Ember Tetras. Then I get these algae wafers for mainly the shrimp and the snails. And they're pretty big wafers for just the small of a tank. So I tend to break it up into just little tiny pieces like this and drop it in. There's another piece right going in. And they just sink down to the bottom. I usually just see the snails eating on these, but every once in a while I'll see the shrimp munching on them. But that's what I feed in this tank. You can see the Ember Tetras are going for the food. So the next tank that we're going to be feeding is my 20-gallon long. It just has my thick lip sunset honey gourami, some zebra danios, 2 autocinchlists, and about 3 coolie loaches, I think. I just fed this tank this morning some bloodworms, so I'm just gonna feed them some of the tropical flakes. I would usually feed both the tropical flakes and the algae wafer for the autocinchlists and the snails in the bottom and the coolie loaches. But since I just fed the bloodworms, I'm just gonna go ahead and feed them the tropical flakes. One annoying thing about this tank is I have 2 lights on it, so every time I have to open up the tank, I have to move this light on top of the other, then open it up. Just not that hard, just kind of a little annoying sometimes. Just get the food and sprinkle it on top. I didn't do too much, but they're still eating even though their bellies are about to explode. I'm gonna be breeding these zebra danios pretty soon, so look forward to that video in the future. Any flakes that float down and reach the bottom, the snails and coolie loaches will eat. So let's go to the next tank. Next tank that we're gonna be feeding is my 40-gallon. I'm gonna feed these guys some bloodworms today. I haven't fed them bloodworms in a while, so I typically just feed this tank tropical flakes. I hardly ever put the algae wafers in, so I'm gonna feed them those frozen bloodworms. I just put the cube in. I hardly ever thaw it out. They go absolutely crazy for these bloodworms. Once they find them, at least. That big Danio right there, he goes crazy. Every once in a while I'll throw in an algae wafer for the autocinchlists, but they have plenty of algae to eat on the sides of the glass and stuff. There they go, chowing down. The rainbow fish especially like it. It's a feeding frenzy. They're like a bunch of piranhas. And just like that, the bloodworms have disappeared. Here is the final tank that we're gonna be feeding. It's a 5.5 gallon, just like the one on my desk. I don't think I've showed you guys this tank yet. I'll have to do a tour of this tank in the near future, so look forward to that video. All I have in it are these White Cloud mountain minnows. They're my favorite fish. I love them. They look so cool. Then I have just a random Harlequin tetra back there. I don't know if you guys can see them, but I like to breed snails in this tank. They're literally all over. So I typically just feed them the algae wafers, so just plop it in right there. If it gets caught up in the plants right here, the white cloud minnows will start to peck at it and eat off of it usually. Then it'll sink to the bottom and there'll be a big mound of snails as all the snails have migrated towards it. Okay, so I waited around 30 minutes and all of the snails found the algae wafer. They're in a huge ball. There's probably about 30 on there. They're all, that's funny. Eventually that algae wafer will fall to the bottom and the rest of the snails will get it, hopefully. But that's just funny, it's a big floating ball of snails. Alright, that's gonna be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I always love feeding my fish, so hopefully you guys liked it. And like I said at the beginning, we made it to 50 subscribers, and if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe right now. I hope you guys have a really good day, and I'll see you guys on the next video.